So we are Dale and Kim, and we are on a journey to buy a camper van. We have been thinking about it quite a while, and I think that what would you say is the thing that kind of made us even start thinking about wanting a camper van? Do you remember?
We've been traveling for the last 2.5 or so years, not constantly, but we've taken 4 to 6 months and traveled different parts of the U.S., staying in Airbnbs in a certain location, and then seeing stuff around that location after work in the evenings or on the weekends. I work remotely, so we can work really from anywhere. And at times we would tent camp. We're big tent campers, and we realized that there were places we could go more easily at different times of the year if we had something other than a tent to go out in. So we initially started looking at something to tow, a pop-up camper or something like that. And then the limitations of our Subaru Outback for the amount of weight it can tow uh, kind of forced us into looking at something different, which is how we eventually settled on the camper van, which kind of gives you the best of both worlds. It's a drivable vehicle, fits in parking spaces, will go through tunnels and parking garages for the
Mm-hmm.
most part, and yet it's sort of like a pop-up camper at the same time.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. And I think also I was thinking about the cost of the Airbnbs. If you want to stay in a decent Airbnb in a place that is, you know, somewhat popular, because if you stay in cities or near national parks and things, there's a lot of people, and it is expensive monthly to stay in one. At the time, we did not have a house. We sold our house and put everything in storage, and so all of our resources could go to paying for the Airbnbs. But now we have a home again, and if an Airbnb is 2,500 a month average, um, that could be a significant monthly van payment. Not that we would even do that kind of a payment, but that was my thinking. We're just putting money into someone else's accommodations when we could put the money in something that belongs to us for as long as we want it. And I also think about how the camper vans are self contained. With solar, you can have unlimited power. You can get your hands on water pretty easily. And of course, you have to have internet. So there's things to consider, but you can be self contained, what they call, boondocking for a while in places that we couldn't go to when we were in Airbnbs. So that's kind of exciting. I think we got a taste for the beauty of the United States, and we want to see it more. Plus, I mean, we have followed people on YouTube for a long time that travel using vans and other things, and we just really think it might be something that we would enjoy.
We got a small taste. You might say, well, you live in a house, you lived in an Airbnb. That's a lot more room than a van. Yeah, tent
Mm-hmm.
camping, but that's temporary. We're talking about months at a time in a van. Well, we got a very small taste a couple of years ago, traveling from Texas to Florida, the Panhandle of Florida. We slept overnight in the back of our Subaru Outback at a truck stop, and it was warm. It was in the summer, and it got a little warm in there, but it wasn't anything that I wouldn't do again if I had to. So a van is kind of a step up from that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's 4 or 5 times the room is the back of our Subaru Outback.
And we're both former Marines, so we're used to living in accommodations that other people might not want to sleep in, you know? So we're pretty flexible when it comes to that kind of thing. I definitely think that we could live in a van peacefully. We're a pretty peaceful couple, not a lot of fighting and things, so
Any fighting,
not at all.
really.
So if a van may test that, I don't know, but I don't think so. Like Dale had mentioned, our Subaru and things just wouldn't tow a small camper like an A line or pop up. And so we were thinking, well, we could, I don't know, get a bigger car and get the camper. But the cost of a car, a new car, and a new camper, or even a used camper, is extraordinary. It's crazy how expensive recreational vehicles are. So that's another reason. If we're going to put out that kind of money, let's put it on a vehicle that we can use for multi purposes. And the cost expense, of the van, we're going to have insurance on it, just like you would an RV. But a lot of times, a camper van that we're looking for now, there's there's camper vans that are considered RVs that are made by RV manufacturers, like the Ram Thor and things like that. But what we're looking for are Ram ProMaster conversions. The same kind of van that you would see being used for work for businesses that's been converted. And those oftentimes are insured as vehicles rather than RVs. Um, we haven't got a quote. We haven't talked to our insurance yet. So that's an expense that we're going to have to take care of. And if our HOA does not allow us to put the van in our driveway because it has an air conditioner on the top, so obviously it's an RV, they don't allow RVs in your driveway, then we may have to pay for some place to park it out of the neighborhood. And in general, we have a budget where we've created that should be able to get us a van that is somewhere maybe around $75,000. That's a lot of money. I've seen vans that range from 5,000 to over 150,000, just depending on how old it is, how much has been added to it. But I think that we could get something that's pretty within that's been the vans been made within the last 4 years, and the conversion is adequate. It might not be you know top of the line, but it will certainly be a good conversion. So that's the kind of the money thing that we're thinking about.
And all that combined is still cheaper than 4, 5, 6 months in an Airbnb.
Mhm,
That price alone there would run you 30,
mhm.
25, $30,000.
And we're hoping that after God willing, after Dale retires, that we can stay in the van a lot longer. And so the cost of an Airbnb for months would be crazy. And like I said, you're just paying someone else for the accommodation. So see. Um, so I made some notes as our hopes for using the camper van. I think um, we traveled the East Coast, we traveled the West Coast, we traveled Utah while we were doing the Airbnb, and there's a lot that we didn't get to see. So I think we definitely want to maybe hit some of the areas we hit before, spend more time in the Utah national parks and all the national parks, and as well as the historic sites we got to see on the East Coast, the Civil War battlefields, Revolutionary War. Spend more time seeing that. So that's kind of what we're hoping to do. The van will only really accommodate two people. It's not a family van. It's not going to have sleeping arrangements, nor will it have seats for a family. But it's just going to be. That's really about it. So kind of where we are on the journey now. We've been making notes of kind of what we think that we have to have in the van, and what we might not need so much, or maybe that we could get later to make it cheaper when we buy it. And we've been watching a lot of videos, taking a lot of notes, looking at a lot of van builder sites, trying to decide if we want to buy a used van that's empty and have someone then convert it into a camper, or if we want to buy one that's already been converted. Um, we're not sure. So it's really going to be what we can find at the time that we were ready to buy. I think one of the advantages of buying a van that's already been converted is a lot of times other people have sank a lot of money into it that if we bought a new van and had to buy all those parts, pieces, and upgrades, it would be a lot more. So we're just trying to keep all that in mind. So tomorrow, what are we doing?
We are renting a camper van for 2 days to take it out to a local campground near a lake so we can see just what it's like to be inside one of them for a couple of days. Kind of get used to the functionality of some of the things in the van, considerations we right now think we know, but we really don't because we've not been in that environment or that situation. We may think we know how the power is going to work or the water is going to work or whatever, but it's not until you're in it and in using the things that you can really know this may be something for us or maybe not. We don't expect anything to change our decision or the path we're down, but this is why we're renting it. It's costing us some money to rent it, but it's a small amount of money compared to what we would spend on a van. And to know ahead of time we're investing a small amount of money before we invest a large amount of money, I think is worth it.
For sure. I think, just like Dale said, is it going to be claustrophobic sleeping in the bed in there? Um, I, but I agree. I don't think that it's not anything that's going to really bother us.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I really want to look at in the van is how it's laid out and how we might want ours. Look for one similar, and the one we're renting is a Ram ProMaster, which is what we're wanting to buy. So see how it's laid out, what we like about it, what we would do differently, how they have their storage and their kitchen, how their electrical system works, how their water system works, all of that. So, and we did rent it, like Dale said, outdoorsy, which is like Airbnb, but you rent people's RVs. It's extraordinarily more expensive than you would expect, but like Dale said, it's a good investment to see, just to make sure that we don't absolutely hate being in a van. So we'll pick that up tomorrow and spend the next 2 days in it,
Mm-hmm.
see what that's like. And then, if all is well for that, our next steps um, is big steps. I think is in May we'll just about be ready to actually purchase one. So we are talking to a van builder that's in um, north that lives north of us. Um, he may be able to do something for us, or we may just find one online that we want. And of course, we're praying about all of this. We don't want to use our money in a way that dishonors the Lord. So we're just, going forward as long as things work out, and we'll see how it goes. So what I hope to do is continue to do little videos like this about our journey. I am not in absolutely any way trying to gain followers or create a money business off of this.
We're not.
No,
I'm joking.
no. I just like to document. Um, always have. I spent years in marketing, so I like stories. That's what we're going to be doing.